this is concerning Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her characterization of the detention camps on the border, who are detaining children and putting them in cages, let alone just, grown-ups who are immigrants, but they're putting children in cages. And this was something that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez referred to as concentration camps. And this got a big uproar, as usual, from the right-wingers and from the Republican Party. A lot of people, I think, called it maybe anti-Semitic, or kind of downplaying what happened in Nazi Germany and different countries that were taken over by the Nazis, Poland and whatnot. So this is an article from the New York Post. It's profiling the comments of a Holocaust survivor, a 93-year-old man who was a Holocaust survivor, who referred to AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in not so flattering terms. So let me read you guys the title here. It says, quote, Nobel Peace Prize in Stupidity. Holocaust survivor wants AOC out of Congress. So this is from the New York Post, and this New York Post is owned by 20th Century Fox News Corp, which is the same people that own Fox News. Rupert Murdoch is the CEO, and so New York Post is obviously going to be liberals, Democrats, AOC, all those people. So they profile this Holocaust survivor as going after AOC here. So let's read the article here, and we'll discuss it a little bit here. It says, there are a few remaining survivors of concentration camps. Ed Mosberg is one of them. And the 93-year-old from Morris Plains, New Jersey, has no time for Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's statements last week when she called the southern border's migrant detention camps concentration camps. Quote, she should be removed from Congress. She's spreading anti-Semitism, hatred, and stupidity, Mosberg told the Post. The people on the border aren't forced to be there. They go there on their own will. If someone doesn't know the difference, either they're playing stupid or they just don't care. On June 18th, the Bronx/Queens politician posted a video on Instagram in which she said, quote, the United States is running concentration camps on our southern border, and that is exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. Mosberg, who lost his entire family during the Holocaust and himself survived both the Plaszow and Mauthausen, sorry if I'm misstating those or mispronouncing those, Mauthausen camps, said, quote, her statement is evil. It hurts a lot of people. At the concentration camps, we were not free. We were forced there by the Germans, who executed and murdered people. There is no way you can compare. On June 21st, the Holocaust Education Group, from the depths of which Mosberg is the president, extended an invitation to AOC via Facebook, encouraging her to tour German Nazi concentration camps with Mosberg. He said he hoped to take her to the museum and memorial site at Auschwitz, where his mother was murdered. But when other members of Congress encouraged the freshman representative to take Mosberg up on the offer, AOC publicly declined. She tweeted to Iowa Representative Steve King, quote, the last time you went on this trip, it was reported that you also met with fringe Austrian neo-Nazi groups to talk shop. So I'm going to have to decline your invite. But thank you for revealing to all how transparently the far right manipulates these moments for political gain. Following a 2018 trip with From the Depths, King reportedly met with a group founded by a former Nazi SS officer. Mosberg said he was very disappointed by AOC's rejection. Quote, she should be taught a lesson. If you're not there, you will never know what happened. She doesn't want to learn. She's looking for excuses. I would like to nominate her for the Nobel Peace Prize, or Nobel Prize not Peace Prize, Nobel Prize in Stupidity. AOC's rep told the Post, quote, she made a distinction between a death camp and concentration camp. She's been pretty outspoken about the issue. If she accepts his offer, the non-agrarian said he would personally give her a tour of camps. I can show, quoting Mosberg, I can show her where they killed my mother, my grandparents, and cousins, so she understands this, he said. I will bring her to the place where they gave my wife's mother benzene injections to the heart and put her on the fire. Mosberg, who was in Krakow, Poland, born in Krakow, Poland, witnessed unspeakable horror during his teenage years. I saw people being hung, being beaten to death, attacked by dogs. I was laying on the ground. The Nazi guards were trying to kill me. A badly beaten Mosberg had nearly lost the will to live by the time he was liberated by American troops. I didn't want to leave, he called. I didn't know where to go. He spent months in an Italian hospital before immigrating to the United States with his wife, also a survivor, in 1951. They settled in Harlem, and he eventually became a real estate developer. He still wears a camp prisoner's uniform during lectures, quote, so people remember. Mosberg said, the father of 3 and grandfather of 6 has been back to the camps dozens of times and helped lead educational tours, including last year with Republican and Democratic members of Congress at Auschwitz. From the depths has taken 20 members of Congress, including New York Caroline Maloney, on its educational tours. They were very shaken and upset learning about the torture, torment, and murder, he said. They think every congressman should go to see it. She, AOC, doesn't want to go. Unless you go into the dark place, you can't understand it. Eventually, you will see she will lose all the Jewish vote in New York. So this guy obviously went through unspeakable torture, unspeakable experiences where he was. Obviously, his family was killed and everything. But that does not mean that the term concentration camps is owned only by the people that were in those concentration camps, in the concentration camps in Nazi controlled areas. So just because that term was used there, it does not mean it cannot be used anywhere else. So that's an absurd case to make, let alone the fact that when you claim that the people that are crossing the border, he might be a Republican by saying this, I don't know, but it seems like he would be. But when you're saying that the people that are crossing the border are not forced to be there, that's not true. Now, you can say, yeah, they are not forced to cross the border. Well, they are. But I mean, they're not. I mean, they can stay in Central America, Mexico, wherever they are. That's true. But they're leaving because they're escaping the torture of what the drug wars and the drug cartels are creating in that region. So they have to leave. Otherwise, they're going to get killed. So, of course, they're forced to leave. And then, not only are they forced to leave, but then they're captured by the border control in, somewhere in between Central America and Mexico, the Mexican border, and they're captured, and then they're put in detention centers. As I read in, I think it was an article last week when I was talking about how the Democrats capitulated to the Republican anti-immigration policy, the children that are put in cages are kept there for 90 days. They're kept in cages for 90 days. They're forced to drink out of toilets, I found out, which was something that AOC mentioned in an article, I think it was in articles I read somewhere, or maybe it was a news report or something. But she was talking about how they're forced to drink out of toilets. And because she toured the border, the detention sites in the, where the border, the border detention sites essentially. And she toured those, and along with a lot of other members of Congress and politicians. Obviously, I doubt there was any Republicans there, but she toured with those people, and she saw that, and she reported it, and that's why she's saying that's what it was like. Now, granted, the people at the border detention sites are not being, they're not being hung. They're not being, I don't know if they're probably being beaten. I wouldn't be surprised, but they're not being hung. They're not being lit on fire, but that doesn't mean it can't be a concentration camp. Again, when you're talking about a concentration camp, that title, that term, is not fully relegated to just what what Jewish people went through in those concentration camps, like the concentration camps in Nazi controlled regions. You don't own the copyright or the trademark of that term, so you can refer to it whatever you want. But the point is that what these Mexican immigrants and what these Hispanic immigrants are going through in these border detention centers is bad. It's horrible. They shouldn't have to go through it. And just because they're not suffering the same exact to the letter, to the bone, shit that the Jews were suffering through in the Nazi controlled regions of Poland and Germany and different whatever other parts of Europe that were controlled by Nazis, just because the people in the detention camps are not suffering through that doesn't mean that they're not suffering through anything. That doesn't mean you should downplay that. Nobody's downplaying anything. It's not like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying that, oh, well, what the people in the concentration camps in Auschwitz and Poland and Germany and all those different places, what they went through doesn't mean what they went through is nothing, and it should be downplayed, and it should be we should pretend as if it was nothing. Nobody is saying that. All she is saying is that what the people in those detention centers on the border or near the border are going through, it's terrible, and they shouldn't have to go through that. And it should be if you're if you care about human life, you're a moral person, you care about what people are going through, when they're trying to get away from essentially, well, in that case, if you want to call it terrorism, or whatever you want to call it, obviously what the drug cartels are doing. I mean, it's certainly a form of terrorism. It's a form of, because they're going around just murdering people for no reason, raping them and whatnot, I think too. So, but whatever they're doing to the people on the border, those people have to get away from that. Just like the people in Germany and Poland, they have to get away from they will have to get away from Hitler and the way the Nazis are treating them. They have to get away from them, and they have to immigrate somewhere, right? The ones that couldn't make it out, they had to be forced into concentration camps, but the ones that were able to get out, they had to get out. And you should be understanding the fact that, okay, the people that are going through, that are trying to cross borders from Mexico into the United States, for example, or any country, and trying to cross borders and get away from those drug cartels and those murderers, they're going through almost the same thing, if not the same exact thing you went through. Those same exact people that are in Germany and Poland and all those countries, they went through the same exact thing. So this guy should be understanding of that. So I don't know why he's lashing out at AOC for referring to horrible conditions as being horrible. But no, he wants to portray as only his experience, what his experience was, as being the only bad thing. What anybody else went through is nothing compared to what he went through. Okay, I mean, I guess you could say maybe it wasn't as bad. I don't know. I don't know what the people in the border detention facilities are going through, if it's as bad as what this guy went through and what all millions of other people went through that were kept in those concentration camps. But you can't say that it was that what the people on the border in those detention camps is nothing. You can't say that. I mean, that's just, honestly, the guy is being a dick, and he's obviously doesn't give a shit about his fellow man, his fellow human. After going through such a horrible experience, you should be on the side of people that are going through this. I guarantee you, honestly, I guarantee you, a majority of the people that went through what they went through regarding. So when they went through, being in those concentration camps, dealing with the Nazis, who were keeping them in those horrible conditions, I honestly, if you would ask them, those people right now, I think they would be very understanding. I don't know how many of them are still alive. Obviously, according to the article, there isn't that many people that survived the Holocaust alive and were in those concentration camps, but. Those, I'm sure that if you ask those people, they would be understanding of the people that are being kept in these detention camps on the border. Why wouldn't they be? Again, if you're a decent human being, you're understanding of what your fellow human being is going through. If you're just going to downplay it and act like it's nothing, then honestly, you're not a decent human being. You're just an asshole, in my opinion. That's just the way I see it. And what you went through is horrible, of course, but that doesn't mean you should downplay anything else, anybody else's experiences. Because again, you don't hold a trademark on the term concentration camps. You don't hold a trademark on, on mass killings and, what was it, extermination, nothing like that, Granted, the people that are in those borders and the people that are obviously going through what they're going through on the, having to try and get away from the drug cartels, that's not necessarily like mass extermination. But I mean, what they're going through is terrible. Just make that acknowledgement. You could easily say, okay, it wasn't as bad as what the people in the concentration camps went through, but it was still bad. And I'm an understanding of what they suffered with, and I stand by them, and they're human beings just like myself. But no, this guy wants to grandstand, and he wants to say, well, no, you don't get to say that because what I went through was really bad, and what you went through is nothing, essentially. So I don't have any understanding of what you went through, because what I went through is so much worse than what you went through, and I have zero consideration and zero sympathy for what you did, or what you had to suffer through. So that's what it seems like he's saying, because he didn't say anything about, maybe he is understanding of what they went through, but he's not saying it because he's too busy responding to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and getting offended by her words. So he wants to go out there and talk about how he's very offended by what she said without even getting into what the people on the border are going through, even though he went through horrible conditions himself, even worse than what the people on the border are going through. But even if you go through even like a fraction of what the people in the Nazi camps and the concentration camps went through, if you went through even a fraction of what those people went through, you should be understanding of that. And if you're not, honestly, you're tone deaf. You're tone deaf, and you honestly don't give a shit about anybody but yourself. And that's the impression that I'm getting from this guy.